All right. Good morning or afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Um, thank you for being patient with the time change on our Ask a Clutter Boss. This is Ask a Clutter Boss. It's Tuesday. It is January 14th, 2025. Thank you so much for joining us live. And if you are here live, please say hello in the comments. If you're looking for an edited version of this without me chatting with people in the comments, I'll be posting that later on onto the playlist for Ask a Clutter Boss. Madonna, so nice to see you here. Mary and Denise, hello, hello, and good morning. So this Ask a Clutter Boss, my printer is making noise over there. I don't know why. Just making noise. Sandra, good morning or good afternoon. This Ask a Clutter Boss is inspired by many recent conversations that are happening in our It's All Clutter community. So if you have been following along Clutter Boss for a while, our community, our free Facebook community is called It's All Clutter. If you're not in there, it's a great spot to be. We've recently had a huge influx of people joining our Facebook group. I think we've had maybe 3,000 people join in the last week or so, which is huge. We are experiencing some slight growing pains in the sense that when people join It's All Clutter, they don't necessarily know about Clutter Boss and about how we do communities. So I am just going to share a little bit right now and say, if you're in It's All Clutter, the role of that community is to support other people on their decluttering journey. And sometimes supporting other people means that you are cheering them on for doing what is right for them, even if that wouldn't be what is right for you. So you are cheering them on if they are tossing stuff into the garbage, even if you do not agree with tossing stuff into the garbage. Everyone is on their own path when it comes to decluttering. Everybody is doing this in a way that makes sense for them with the context of their own history. We have no idea what somebody has gone through to get to the point where they're at. But what I can say across the board is that if you have a lot of clutter, it means that you have lived a life with some difficult stuff thrown into it. It does not mean that you are a bad person. It does not mean that this is all your fault. It means that you have walked down some difficult paths, and we are not here to judge the fact that you have clutter. We are not here to judge how you are decluttering. We are here to support you, one human to another. That is what we do at Clutter Boss. So if you're in It's All Clutter and you're seeing our posts are kind of like, people are responding in ways that may be somewhat unusual for our community, we are working behind the scenes very hard to make sure that we get everyone in this beautiful space on the same page when it comes to how we work things in Clutter Boss. All right. There have also been, okay, good. Let's see. Let's go over to the comments right quick. Carrie, Vicky, 21 Donna's down from Australia. Good morning, or good, I guess, what is it in Australia now? You're very opposite of us. So middle of the night. Marie, Bridget, Lorene, DA, hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining me live. In It's All Clutter, I have seen a lot of posts about I don't want to throw out something because I spent money on it. So I feel bad about letting go of this item, donating it, tossing it, whatever it is, because I spent money on it. And I wanted to really dissect that comment. This is a very common thing that we hear. Of course, I have thought it before. Everyone has been at a point in their decluttering journey where they think, I spent money on this. How can I toss it out? Or how can I donate it? Or how can I, let go of it? I recently actually had the experience where I purchased a pair of pants. I thought they were great. I thought I was going to wear them over the holidays. Every time I put them on, they were just a touch too short, which I didn't realize in the beginning. And they were pretty expensive. It was beyond the return period. And I just realized after a couple of months of owning these new with tags pants that I was never going to wear them because they're just a touch too short. And you can shorten pants, but it's much more difficult to lengthen pants. So I, with love and gratitude for the lesson that I learned, put them into the donate bag and put them into the bin. and they are out of my life. And that is maybe like a $50 lesson right there. That's okay. It's a lesson. It is a lesson. I could have spent time trying to resell them. That's definitely was an option, but we're going to talk about why I didn't do that. And I have some very important reasons here. Good morning or good afternoon, Brenda and Anne. Okay, I want to share as a little context to this conversation. I see this posted all the time. Look around. All that clutter used to be money, and all that money used to be time. All that clutter used to be money, and all of that money used to be time. Now, when I first saw this, it hit me like a ton of bricks, and it did not feel good. It wasn't like one of those happy aha moments. It was like one of those gut punch moments. Like I have not only lost all of this money, but I have also lost all of this time. It didn't feel good to see this, but this is a very useful thought, and it can really start to shift your mindset. We teach at Clutter Boss that money is a renewable resource. We can always make more money in the future. Time is our non-renewable resource. It is the most precious gift that we have. We cannot make more time in the future. We don't even know how much time we have. So time is the thing that matters way more than money. And we trade our time for money. And then we trade our money for stuff. But it always starts with time, not with money. So when you hear yourself saying, I feel bad letting go of this thing because I spent money on this. And then the next sentence that you hear yourself saying is, I'm going to try and sell this. We've already spent the money. We've already spent the time. If you choose to sell that item, you're choosing to spend more time on what might possibly be you're not going to make a lot of money for that time, right? So when we think about our time, it's worth more than anything else in the world because we have a finite amount of it. And let me just actually pull this down now. When we think about our time, it's worth more than anything else in the world. We have a finite amount of time. So if we wanted to put a financial value on our time, we need to really value it very highly. If I asked you, what is 1 hour of your time worth? What would you say? And we tend to undervalue this number. So you may say an hour of my time is worth $25, $50, $75. It's equivalent to kind of what I get paid hourly if I were to work, or if I do have a job. But actually, 1 hour of your time is worth way more than that because we're talking about 1 hour of your free time. So I like to think about how much would I have to get paid to do a job for 1 hour that I absolutely despise doing, like a job that I would hate to do. How much would 1 hour of my time be worth then? And then you can kind of think about, okay, my time is worth a lot. It's worth a lot. So if I decide I'm going to sell something or hang on to something because I spent money on it, or then sell it to make money back on that item, you've already spent that time. You've already spent that money. Yes, it is possible to make money selling that thing, but is it worth your time? Is it worth your time to reinvest your time into that item? And that's where the mindset shift really comes in. Is it worth our time to continue to invest in something that is not serving us? So we trade our time for money. We don't trade our stuff for money. It's really, if we skip that middle thing, it's really trading, time for stuff. So if you're going to sell something, are you getting your time back? Now, there are certain occasions where it is very appropriate to sell something. You can actually make a lot of money for a short amount of time investment. And we have a should I sell it calculator on our website at clutterboss.com. It's a free downloadable resource where you basically fill in the amount of time you're going to spend doing something, how much your time is worth, and how much you think you're going to make from the item. And it tells you yes or no, I should sell this or I should not sell this. So I think it's always we have to consider, am I going to make $1,000 for 10 minutes of work? Yeah, that's probably worth it. Am I going to make $10 for 4 hours of work? Probably not worth it. But it's not about I already spent money on it. That money is gone. That time is gone. How much time am I reinvesting now versus how much money can I get from this? Um, when we think about hanging on to something also, so you say, I don't want to let go of this because I spent money on it. Let's talk about there's also an actual financial cost to hanging on to too much stuff. So we're hesitant to let something go because we spent money on it. But what is the cost of hanging on to it? This is another way to think about this. One thing that I see a lot, a huge hidden cost of hanging on to everything or a lot of things is deferred maintenance on our homes. So when we have a lot of stuff in our house, regardless of how much money we spent on it, if we feel embarrassed, ashamed, or if we actually cannot let a repair person come in because it is physically impossible to get to the space that needs to be repaired, we defer that maintenance. And that deferred maintenance cost is enormous. It is enormous. A lot of times, deferred maintenance turns into an emergency situation. You have a basement full of stuff that you spent lots of money on, right? Don't want to let it go. I spent a lot of money on it. It's overwhelming. There's so many reasons we don't want to let it go, but we spent money on it. Then you have a pipe burst in your basement. That emergency situation is extremely expensive. And you end up losing all of the stuff that you spent the money on anyway because it's damaged. And if you choose not to let it go, then you run the risk of having mold in your house and getting health issues from the stuff. And in fact, increased medical expenses is another cost of hanging on to too much stuff. So when we have a lot of stuff in our home, because we spent money on it or whatever reason it is, it can cause both emotional, mental, and physical health issues. So then we have to spend money dealing with those health issues. Being overwhelmed is the precursor to being depressed. That's what I've seen in my own life. That is what I've seen in many of my clients' lives. When we're overwhelmed, and sometimes it is it's not the precursor. It's maybe like it's like the step sibling to depression. Like they come hand in hand, like you're overwhelmed and you're depressed. If you have any ADD, ADHD, kind of a different way of your brain functioning in a cluttered environment, it can also impact your health to have a lot of stuff. Like we know this, but we don't think about the actual financial cost of it. But it is expensive in time and money when we are hanging on to stuff because we spent money on it and we don't want to let it go, even though it's not helping our house or helping our life at all. A lot of times when we're hanging on to things because we already spent money on it and we don't want to let it go, we apply that to so much stuff that we can't find what we need when we need it. So what do? We repurchase the item. We have multiples. When I did my first declutter many moons ago, I found so much tape in this house. Tape upon tape upon tape, rolls and rolls and rolls of Scotch tape. I had Scotch tape for years because every time I had to wrap a gift, I just bought more like a 3-pack of Scotch tape, right? Because I couldn't find the tape that I had. I know I know Marie who's listening, she found like 20 umbrellas in her house. Like I mean, we repurchase because we can't find what we already own when we need it because we're keeping everything. So there's another very like hidden financial cost of hanging on to everything. When you're living in constant stress because you feel guilty about the stuff that you're keeping, you feel guilty about your living environment, you don't want to let people in, that constant stress creates that chronic stress creates medical conditions also. I mean, there's again a massive cost to holding on to this stuff. And another thing that I've noticed across the board from so many of our clients, I've experienced this myself also, is when you're hanging on to stuff and it's impacting your life at this level, your relationships are also deteriorating, or it's undermining the strength of different relationships that you have. It may cause resentment, anger, arguments with your significant other. It may keep you in a space of frustration, which then may impact how you interact with your children or your extended family or friends. So it impacts your relationships. There is a cost to that. There's a cost to all of this. So the next time that you hear yourself saying, I don't want to let go of this because it cost me money, I want you to think about all of these other things that it's costing you. Number one, it's going to cost you time if you try and sell it. Maybe the easiest thing is just to donate it, right? Consider that. It's going to possibly cost you deferred maintenance on your house, which could be an emergency situation when it actually happens. It can cause increased medical expenses. You may just buy duplicates because you can't find what you have. It may cause just tremendous stress, increase of stress, and it may impact your relationships. And this is just like scratching the surface. It goes so much deeper than this. But I just wanted to create this Ask a Clutter Boss episode because I feel like this is something that we say all the time, a justification for keeping our items. I spent money on it. So now when you hear yourself saying that, you can just circle right on back to this video and walk through with me once again why that argument doesn't really hold up. It doesn't really hold up. 17 laundry baskets. Yes. Amy also with the tape. I know. Actually, okay. So in the comments, whether you're watching this live or on replay, let me know when you decluttered, what did you find tons of duplicate items that you had? Like, what was the surprise thing that you were like, oh, I've just been rebuying this because I can't find it. So it's always these like little random things. So, Anne, you are so welcome. You are so welcome. Yes, reinvesting more time in something you've already spent time on. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Now, something that you could do with your time. So if we get into this like scarcity mindset. We're going to deviate a little tiny bit. We get into this scarcity mindset where we feel like we're never going to have what we need in the future. So we buy things or keep things and I think some of us were definitely raised with a very clear scarcity mindset. But I also think that if you weren't raised with a scarcity mindset, we live in a world where scarcity mindset is kind of all around us. So it impacts each of us, whether or not you were raised in a situation where there was scarcity mindset. And does everybody know what scarcity mindset is? I actually printed out a definition of it over here. It's a way of thinking that's characterized by a focus on what is lacking and a belief that resources are limited. So people who have a scarcity mindset, according to Google AI, may feel preoccupied with what they don't have and may have a chronic fear that they're never going to have enough to meet their needs. So if you are kind of brought up with this scarcity, I'm loving these, with this scarcity mindset, you have this idea that you have to hang on to stuff. But when it comes to our time, I think the antidote to scarcity mindset is learning new skills or investing your time in a skill set, possibly some sort of education, something that can increase the amount that your hour is worth when you're at work. So how much is your time worth at work? So if you have a scarcity mindset, the antidote is really learn something that you can do. So if in the future there is a situation where there is scarcity, which is so different than how it used to be, like say in the 1920s. But if you're in that situation, you can rely on your own skills and you don't have to rely on having something in storage. So what skills can you learn with that extra time that you make by not investing so much time in stuff? Is that making sense? Okay, I'm going to 12 sets of lamps and 9 X-Acto knives, notebooks, nail clippers galore, 20 lids to pots and pans where there were no bottoms, and 29 rolls of scotch tape, unused birthday cards, Bic lighters, scissors, rulers, and pens. I'm with you on the office supplies there. And kitchen plastic storage containers. Yeah, things that we just have so many duplicates of. All right. So I think that kind of this is I feel like a good video to bookmark, come back to it in the future. If you're struggling with scarcity mindset, if you're struggling with letting go of something because you spent money on it, circle back here, invest in yourself, learn a new skill, and let go with love and gratitude for the little lesson that you learned. The lesson that I learned, if you didn't hear the beginning of this recently, it was about a $50 lesson, is that Spanx petite pants are about 1 inch too short for me. So now I know. Cost me $50 to learn that lesson. That is okay. I am at peace with that. And I hope that the person who gets those new with tag Spanx petite pants that I purchased at Goodwill is so excited for the amazing deal that they just got. I hope that I've blessed somebody else with my little learning snafu here. Okay. Have an absolutely wonderful rest of your week. And remember, in our Clutter Boss community, our word of the year is action. We are taking action. So after watching this video, go on and spend 5 minutes taking action on anything. Don't think about it. Don't overthink about it. Just go on and take action. With love, never forget you are a clutter boss. I will see you next week. Bye for now, everyone.